Hold it right there, Buster. So this is a continuation of my last Pokemon video where I was ranking all of the Pokemon villains from least evil to most evil. So if you guys haven't watched that first video yet, please do so. I think you'll get a lot more context out of it for this video as well. So link is in the description below. Take your time and watch it and just come right back. Don't worry, I'll wait. Alright, you're back? Alright then, let's get right into it. So with this evil boss, we're now getting into the more dangerous territory in terms of goals. Now here's a refresher for Lysandre. Lysandre wants to make use of the ultimate weapon in order to wipe out humanity that's not a member of Team Flare, so that it can be restored to its natural beautiful state. Now bringing Hanlon's Razor back into play from my first video, this plan is also mega smooth-brained and ironic. First off, a mega death laser will just fuck up the ecosystem. Second, you say that humanity has soiled the earth and its beauty due to their selfishness and whatnot. Motherfucker, what you're doing is the definition of selfish. You're only saving the people that paid you millions. It's just Scientology at this point. Now, forcing people to cough up millions of Pokédollars just to join your organization is just a scam, I'm gonna be honest. Like, what kind of benefits are they even receiving? Living? They're also grunts working for you, getting their asses handed to them by a literal toddler/teenager all the time. So no workers' benefits, huh? You may need to look into some labor laws there, buddy. Now in the games, Lysandre is a very kind and honorable person overall. He does admit that he's wrong and ends up permanently fainting himself in the end. Remember kids, death's not real in Pokemon. Now this point I'm about to make doesn't necessarily make Lysandre completely evil, but rather more dangerous. He is a very charismatic person, and knows how to move people into his cause. Yet he still does care for his comrades as well as the planet. Now his most evil trait, quote unquote, definitely comes from his obsession. Like, I'm no psychologist, but there could be a mental issue from which his obsessions could stem from. Now, does this necessarily make him evil? It really depends. And again, I'm no psychologist, I'm not here to misdiagnose or anything, I'm just looking at symptoms I see online and all that stuff. So again, I'm not trying to offend anybody, and I'm no psychologist once again, but maybe, you know, this adds a little more of a fun element to this video. Now, if we look into his manga and anime counterparts, it's 100% clear how evil he is. A lot of the villains on this list tend to manipulate the people within the organizations. Lysandre, on the other hand, has full-on controlled someone before. Within the games, anime, and manga, Lysandre mind controls someone named Emma, who was then given the codename Essentia. Manipulation is one thing, but fully taking over someone's free will forcefully is just straight up evil. He's even worse in the anime. Not only does he exploit people for his own gain, but he is shown to be sadistic. There's even a scene where he kidnaps Ash and tortures him in an attempt to brainwash him. Now, Lysandre overall is where we begin to touch upon true evil within these villains. Which brings me to... Pokemon Sun and Moon gave us a fresh start, straying away from the basic Pokemon formula. Rather than beating 8 gym leaders, we were given trials. Instead of an organization with the name Team in it, we were given another antagonist, which was the Aether Foundation. Now mommy, Lusamine, is the CEO of the Aether Foundation, and is misleading like Lysandre at first. She's seen as a very kind and caring person, a very sweet and beautiful lady, very demure, very mindful. However, this is merely a mask. When we progress along the game, we see her true personality come to light. She becomes obsessed with Ultra Beasts, which are Pokemon from another dimension, and is a lot more ruthless and evil. She actively neglects and abuses, which is implied, her children, which leads Gladion, her son, to join Team Skull. She turns the Aether Foundation, a foundation that was made to protect Pokemon, into basically a lab that experiments on and tortures them. Sounds like a Karen to me, not gonna lie. Now, in the original Sun and Moon games, her obsession mainly came because she was under the control of Nihilego. However, in Ultra Sun and Moon, this position is removed, which ultimately makes her truly evil. She's also very manipulative. In part 1 of this video, I mentioned that Guzma was being manipulated by someone to kidnap Pokemon. That very person was Lusamine. Now, I believe that her most sinful act overall is acting upon her furry fetish and fusing with Nihilego, but that's just me. Her manga counterpart doesn't seem to be that much different from the games though, except that her motivation is a little bit different. Instead, she's now acting out of love for her children. The one big difference that I did see was that the manga delved a lot deeper into her cold and abusive nature. While it does give us a better perspective on her character, it still doesn't condone her actions, as she doesn't see the wrong in them in abusing her children psychologically. So does this make Lusamine evil? Yes, I do think it does make her evil, because a lot of her tendencies are quite ironic. She has a foundation that cares for Pokemon but ends up cruelly experimenting on them. She neglects her children and psychologically abuses them overall, which is very, very bad. So I would say that yes, Lusamine is more evil than Lysandre. Team Rocket's motivation is very basic. World domination. Very simple villains overall. However, Giovanni is a lot more evil than people think. Most people think of Jesse and James and their goofy-aw portrayal of Giovanni when they hear Team Rocket. However, the games show him in a very sinister light. I'd like to thank this commenter for reminding me of the crimes that they do commit within the games. So, like this comment says, Team Rocket commits a lot of heinous crimes throughout the games. The first instance of such vile acts is when the player first visits the infamous Lavender Town. Under Giovanni's orders, Team Rocket takes Mr. Fuji, the caretaker at the Pokemon house, hostage within the Lavender Tower. This was because he was trying to soothe the spirit of a Marowak that Team Rocket had permanently fainted. While they were keeping him hostage, they were trying to find the Marowak's child, Cubone, in order to sell it for money. The next vile act we see them commit is when the player gets to Saffron City, where Team Rocket has taken the entire city hostage. Giovanni is personally at Silphco and is seen trying to threaten the president into giving him the blueprints for the Master Ball so that he can mass produce them for himself. In order to gain more power, Giovanni also orders his team to kidnap and experiment on Pokemon to make them stronger. This led to the creation of Mewtwo overall. And within the games, Giovanni is also implied to have killed people, which many of the other villains haven't even done. While they do hurt people, other villains never kill anyone, mainly because, again, this is a game made for kids. Now his manga counterpart is much more sinister. While he shows a little more respect for Pokemon, Giovanni will stop at nothing to achieve his ambitions and goals. He will kill both Pokemon and people for his goals, and will throw away anybody he deems as useless. Throughout the manga, he's made multiple attempts to kill Red, and has his members hunt down Pokemon to experiment on them, or just sell them for profit. While a lot of his evil actions are implied in the games, the manga proves that he has committed these crimes and has no regret for them. At the end of both the manga and the games, Giovanni is shown to try to have a redemption arc at least. He wants to improve as a person and sees the wrong in his crimes. But at some point there was also a time where he was trying to return to his evil ways, which means that he was not going to change, but who knows, maybe in the future he will be a better person. So does this make him a basic villain? Yes, but he is very evil overall compared to the rest of the other organization leaders. Now coming up on the second most evil spot on this list is none other than Cyrus. In my last Evil Teams video, I crowned Cyrus as the most dangerous leader in all of the Pokemon games. However, he is not the most evil villain out there. Cyrus exudes a very dangerous mindset overall, one that is riddled with nihilism and a god complex. His goal is similar to Lysandre's in that both of their plans call for the destruction of all humanity. However, Cyrus does not wish to spare anyone. He wants to completely annihilate the universe and reshape it in his own image. This stems from his lack of emotion towards people and Pokemon, thinking that emotion is illogical and a sign of weakness. He's kind of thinking of himself as like a machine in some way. His idea of a perfect world is one in which humanity has no free will and lives in a world of emotionless existence. To achieve his goal, he uses his entire team as mere pawns, and when they fail him, he simply just betrays them to go on his own. Leading a team and using them as pawns is one thing, but betraying them overall for being useless is just cold and heartless. Not to mention that all the grunts and the commanders in Team Galactic revere Cyrus as someone who commands their respect, and he sees them as just mere cogs in his machine. Now, I'd like to point out that a lot of the villains within this list, they try to seek redemption or try to change their ways after they're beaten by the player. But Cyrus is an exception. he does not want to change even after losing to the player. Cyrus actually just wants to continue on with his ideals and never changes his mind. In Platinum, he chooses to leave Team Galactic behind and stay in the Distortion world, leaving his beloved followers lost and confused when he does so. He does this because the Distortion world is very close to what his ideal world is like. In the manga, he's the same, but a lot more brutal. One of his most evil manipulation tactics that he employs is blackmailing one of his former commanders into rejoining Team Galactic by threatening her favorite Pokemon, which he had kidnapped. And when it comes to battling, he shows no hesitation in completely destroying both the trainer and their Pokemon. The manga does make him a little bit different though, because he does end up trying to seek redemption after a heartfelt interaction with the main protagonist, Harita. Now, our characters from the games don't have the Talk No Jutsu ability, and it's really hard to tell if we could spark some emotion that Harita did to Cyrus to change him. However, he is very evil overall compared to the other villains we have on this list, mainly due to his nihilistic ideals and lack of emotion. Now we're at the top of this list with the number 1 most evil villain. We've discussed a great number of villains within this 2-part series already, but one particular psycho outclasses them all. Mindy, the trainer that cucks you by trading you a Haunter with an Everstone. Like, why the fuck would you do that? You fucking monster, you bitch! Okay, for real though, the main psycho within the entirety of the Pokemon series is Ghetsis. Now again, I would like to clarify that we're talking about the most evil villains in Pokemon, rather than how dangerous they are. Ghetsis is quite literally the purest definition of evil. For one, he hates everyone and everything. He quite literally sees people and Pokemon as mere stepping stones for him to step on for world domination. Like, his mindset and a lot of his ideals and thoughts would definitely put therapists into like a psychotic ward themselves. Now, he may seem like a very simple villain with the basic goal of world domination, but the things he has done are quite disturbing. Not only has he committed almost all of the crimes of the other villains combined, but he has done much worse. Ghetsis is N's adopted father, and while this may be seen as a benevolent act saving a child from being an orphan, N was just another tool for his goals. To go even further, Ghetsis manipulated N throughout his entire life. As a child, N was isolated from the rest of the world and was only shown abused Pokemon, and those Pokemon were probably abused by Ghetsis, by the way, which would then warp his worldview of the relationship between man and Pokemon. When N loses to the player near the end of the game, Ghetsis reveals that he never cared about N by calling him a freak without a human heart. Like, dude, that's fucking cold, man. Like, I'm not talking about like, oh dude, that's hard. No, that's just cold. That's just heartless and ruthless, man. Like Giovanni, Ghetsis also has no problem with killing, as he's seen command and cure him to kill the player after losing to them. Unlike Giovanni though, he doesn't have any deep respect for Pokemon in general. I mean, again, look at his Hydreigon. And like Cyrus, Ghetsis does not want to change. He does not seek redemption whatsoever. He truly believes that he is right and should solely rule the world. Now again, I'm no psychologist, but I will point out that he exhibits extreme narcissism, with a lot of delusion and antisocial traits which could possibly stem from narcissistic personality disorder. Again, not to misdiagnose or anything. He exhibits no regard for other lives and, again, sees himself as God. In the manga, Ghetsis is much worse. For one, there's that very infamous chapter that many people will know where he straight up crucifies all of the gym leaders as a show of his victory. That's just seriously messed up, man. And a lot of his crimes do mirror the ones from the games, but they're shown in a much more cruel and dark way, making him not just a villain, but a monster. Ghetsis is undoubtedly the most cruel, evil, and terrifying villain within all of the Pokemon series, and it's actually quite scary to see how Nintendo made such a villain for a game that's made for young kids. So yeah, I do think that Ghetsis is undoubtedly the most evil villain in all of the Pokemon games. There's just like so many things that he does and thinks about. Like, I feel like if we just listed down all of his crimes in some way, shape, or form, definitely like there's gonna be a lot of human rights violations here and there. But yeah, the least evil on this list are going to be Team Aqua and Magma to me, because again, they're just stupid, not evil. And the most evil is obviously going to go to Ghetsis. But yeah, if you made it to the end of this series, thank you so much for taking the time to just come by and hear my thoughts. And again, if you guys have any differing opinions from mine on who's the evilest villain, make sure to, leave a comment down below. I'd really love to hear what your thoughts are and see your counter arguments against mine. And if you want to see more stuff in the future from me, maybe hit that subscribe button. Right now, my goal is to reach 100 subs before the end of this year, or if you guys are even more awesome, hit 151 subscribers before November so that I can either stream or record a Nuzlocke of a Pokemon game that I have never even played before. But if I don't reach the 151 before November, I'm still going to Nuzlocke a Pokemon video for Nuzlocke November. Anyway though, that's enough advertising from me. Thank you guys so much for watching the video once again, and I'll see you next week. Peace.